You're probably here because the video you recently saw on my social media platform where Mirjam Haney presented her talk claiming that pedophilia should be seen as a natural sexual orientation. She mentioned that pedophilia is an unchangeable orientation, just like heterosexuality. She states that no one chooses to be a pedophile, but they're born that way. And if you're like me, it sparks significant outrage and utter disgust.
I want to quickly summarize where we are at the moment. According to current research, pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation, just like, for example, heterosexuality. No one chooses to be a pedophile. But just like pedophiles, we are not responsible for our feelings, but we are responsible for our actions. And we must make a decision. It is our responsibility to reflect and to overcome our negative feelings about pedophiles and to treat them with the same respect we treat other people with.
But where do these people come up with these ideas and feel so comfortable to get up on a stage and voice these things, especially in a TED Talk? I mean, to emerge with a new idea like this and come out into the public and actually voice it, at which the level they do, would have to be pure insanity unless there's been a conditioning that's been taking place for decades in which people would be more willing and able to accept these types of things. Now, what do I mean by that exactly? Well, since the inception of Hollywood, our entertainment industry, I think there's been a collaborative effort on silencing the sexual misconduct that takes place not only to men and women, but to children specifically. There's a recent docuseries that's getting set to drop on March 17th called Quiet on Set. It's a docuseries highlighting Dan Schneider's era at Nickelodeon during the 90s and 2000s era. Some of the hottest shows during that time like iCarly, Sam and Cat, Victorious, Drake and Josh, and so many others. And during this docuseries, while not every single situation and story is highlighted, because if you understand the predator and the prey mentality, the prey is typically inferior, they're scared, they're terrified, they're embarrassed to share any of the information or details about what actually took place to them for fear of what the predator can do to them, in which in reality they have zero power. But some stories were highlighted and are worth notating here. Understanding these are key to understand the conditioning and the grooming that takes place not only in Hollywood behind the scenes on set during these shows, but the conditioning, the specific intention and design of the executive producers, the storylines, the wardrobes, the specific scenes that are pushed out in the public eye on TV across the world to people like you and I, to our children, and to the next upcoming generations. And we truly have the power to make a change and to stop this madness. Now, some might say, how in the world will we be able to have any chance of stopping this type of stuff from happening or coming out into the mainstream? Well, for one, we have the power to turn on the TV. We have the power to pay and subscribe to these channels and to these networks. We have the power to stop purchasing their merchandise. We have the power to stop sharing and following their social media accounts. These are the powers that we possess, because without them, who's going to watch? Who's going to purchase? And I think at the end of the day, our silence is really our consent for them to continue to fulfill this type of madness. But let's dive in real quick and look at some of these stories and gain an understanding of what takes place behind the set so that you at home are watching this can understand what actually takes place inside of Hollywood, the real pedophilia that takes place, the contracts that are put in place that wrap these families up, the parents who literally are prostituting their children into these organizations who claim they didn't know anything about it. But though their children have written about this, like Jeanette McCurdy has, a lot of their parents know this stuff and do nothing because the money's too good. Well, the children suffer at the hands of predators, and we reward them with watching and paying our subscriptions, which then make them filthy rich. So the first to highlight is former Nickelodeon star Drake Bell. In the Quiet on Set docuseries that's getting ready to drop on March 17th, he reveals that he was sexually abused by his dialogue coach by the name of Brian Peck. The LAPD reported that in 2003, 2 years after the abuse took place, Bell was only 15 at the time, and that Bell's family had reported that Peck had molested their child for over a 6-month period of time. In 2004, Peck pled no contest to oral copulation with a minor under the age of 16. He was sentenced to 16 months in prison and was required to register as a sex offender. Now, what's interesting about this is that some of the stars from Boy Meets World, including Ryder Strong, Will Friedle, along with their co-star Danielle Fishel, said that they regretted testifying on behalf of Peck at the trial. And they said that they now actually recognize the fact that he did manipulate manipulate, and he did have behavior that was predatory. Danielle Fishel actually said, in quote, the other adults on set who maybe could have or should have said, hey, why are you guys going to lunch with this guy? Or why is this guy going to Ryder's house for a party? There was probably a part of them that didn't say it because they were afraid it was going to be taken as homophobia since he was gay. Instead, this is a boundary, gay or not. This is a boundary about adults and kids, she said. So because Peck was gay, they were afraid that anything that they would say or do would be deemed as homophobia, and they didn't want to raise any concerns or get themselves stamped or canceled out because of that. Will Friedle said that when they were sitting there in court with Peck, end quote, we're sitting in that courtroom on the wrong side of everything. The victim's mother turned and said, look at all the famous people you brought with you, and it doesn't change what you did to my kid. Absolutely horrific, man. He said, I just sat there wanting to die. It was like, what the hell am I doing here? It was horrifying all the way around. Even Jeanette McCurdy, who was part of iCarly and Sam and Cat, had this to say in regards to her memoirs. If you haven't read it, it's called I'm Glad My Mom Died, which is a crazy title in my opinion, but she only knows what she went through. It says, according to McCurdy, the elevation of an actor's career was contingent on their obedience and deference to Schneider. McCurdy wrote that she felt on edge, desperate to please, terrified of stepping out of line after Schneider promised McCurdy her own spin-off show after iCarly. McCurdy's mother encouraged her to maintain a mask, never expressing discomfort or disapproval. Following her mother's instructions, McCurdy showed no hint of distress, even as Schneider coaxed her into tasting alcohol and caressed her knee. McCurdy's memoir has a massive ripple effect. In August 22, fellow Nickelodeon star Alexa Nichols, who played Nicole Bristow on Zoe 101, staged a protest outside of Nickelodeon headquarters. And a video of the protest posed on Instagram shows her holding a sign that reads, Nickelodeon didn't protect me. Nicholas relates to McCurdy's experience, reflecting Schneider played a huge role in her personal childhood trauma. She did not feel safe around Schneider while working at Nickelodeon. In one chapter of the memoir, McCurdy wrote that she recalled having to endure discomfort of a bikini photo shoot on set of iCarly. Feeling exposed, she said, and over-sexualized, she asked the wardrobe designer if she, quote, could please try on one piece with board shorts, to whom the wardrobe designer replied, the creator explicitly asked for bikinis, the creator being Dan Schneider. McCurdy does not seem to be alone in feeling that Schneider's wardrobe choices were inappropriate. Daniela Monet, who infamously played Trina in Victorious, told Business Insider in October 2019 that she felt that many of the show's costumes were not age appropriate for her and her fellow actresses, and that she wouldn't even wear some of that today as an adult. Monet said that she wished certain things didn't have to be so sexualized, mostly referring to a scene in Victorious where her character eats a pickle while sprawled on the couch, reapplying lipstick in between bites. The sexual suggestiveness, the insanity of these acts and what actually took place is unbelievable. But this is the grooming that goes on inside of Hollywood. Whether it be TV shows, movies, music, these people come in, sign contracts, and if you think about it, I want you to consider this for a moment. They come in and they sign contracts to be a part of this community, thinking that they're going to be able to express their talent, they're going to get a contract, make some money, be able to have some type of living doing what they're good at, sharing their gift with the world. When in reality, are these contracts really much more than just your basic contract? Are they selling themselves to the organization? Are they basically solidifying, not only maybe in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense of saying, you know what, I'm laying my life down to this thing and allowing myself to be infiltrated at the highest degrees? It seems like a child slave trade, a child sex trade in many senses. The fact is these kids are being forced to wear certain things, or being forced to do certain things behind the scenes, what's actually taking place, whether it be molestation, rape, the introduction to alcohol, to drugs. And then we wonder why stars, like many whom we've seen, right, that have come out of the farm world of Disney, of Nickelodeon, etc., whether that be Britney Spears, whether it be a number of these childhood actresses or actors, they come out and they're so talented at what they do. They can sing, they can act, their ability to communicate. But what really happens to these people? They go from relationship to relationship to relationship. They go from drug addiction to depression to anxiety to suicide attempts to even connecting with people in the occult, like Marina Abramovich. She's a professed Hollywood witch who's appeared in many different videos, including with Jay-Z's Picasso Baby, which is supposed to be an art illustration, conducting some type of ceremonious ritual on stage in front of onlookers who seem to be worshiping or praising the situation. Ukraine's President Zelensky has called on her to be his ambassador. She also does spirit cooking dinners where they take bodies of babies and of people that are formed out of food, in whom they rip apart apart, they throw blood on, they reenact human sacrifice, if you will, and people gorge themselves and eat, feast, and have dinner out of these dead bodies that are made out of food. And if you look deeper into the artist and who she's impacted and who she's performed her witchcraft over, but not just her, other people along the same lines who have been operating in the space of the entertainment world, Hollywood, music, movies, TV, etc. And think about it. How much talent has come out of Disney and actually been successful and led a normal life after they're finished? From Miley Cyrus to Britney Spears to Demi Lovato. Think about the hardships and the things that they've endured at the hand of what's actually taken place to them behind the scenes. Grooming, conditioning, occult rituals, practices, the screams for help inside the music. I mean, just watch this.
Pedal on the vine, too young to drink wine, just 5 years of bleeder, student and a teacher, far from medicine, what the fuck's consent, numbers told you not to, but that didn't stop you.
They're telling you what's happening without telling you what's actually happening. And so we get back to our main point. How do these people get so comfortable standing up on a stage talking about how pedophilia should be accepted as a normal sexual orientation? Because the powers that be, the places that we support, the entertainment, film, music industry, who entertain us, who bind and hold our attention, that we're giving money to, we're giving our time to, we're purchasing their merchandise, we're showing up at their shows, we're supporting them on every single level possible. They are recirculating that money and power in which we give them. They're telling us what to believe, and we're doing it. And it's the circle of life. Their life cycle of success is based upon you and I, our buy-in, our attention, our support. So we can either watch another video and say how disgusting and how bad this is, or we can actually stand up and do something about it. And this is where the power of the decision lies in your hands. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel so you get more content like this. Follow me on all platforms at Joey Vantes. And until next time, continue to fight those psyops.